my lovelies. Today I'm going to be talking about a product that I really enjoy. It's the Nars Powder Foundation. One of the things I like about the product is the versatility. I use this product so many different ways. I'm going to show you the different ways. Right now I am rocking the product alone. So I am going to apply it on camera, but this is the Nars Powder Foundation is all I'm wearing for coverage on my whole face, except under my eyes. I've added Nars concealer as well. But you're going to see on my whole, for the whole rest of my face, this is the only thing I have on for coverage. And if you've watched my other videos, you know that my skin is nowhere near perfect looking. And I think that this does an amazing job of evening out my skin tone. And it gives a nice finish. It's not really matte, it's just really natural looking. It's not matte, it's not necessarily luminous either, but I just think it's so pretty. So I hope you guys enjoy these different methods. If you've tried the Nars Powder Foundation, let me know what you think. And if you haven't, I hope you do soon, and I hope you have great results. Enjoy, guys. So I'm going to take my beautiful Nars Powder Foundation in the color Tahoe, and I've clearly hit the pan. I'm going to take my Sephora powder brush, and I got this in my antibacterial brush set for my birthday from my hubby, and this is my absolute favorite powder brush. It's the perfect density, and it's synthetic hair like all my other brushes. But you can take any powder brush, and I really have to work the brush in because I've hit pan, but it only takes a bit. I'm tapping off the excess, which doesn't exist. This is not a loose powder. I just did that out of habit. And I apply first to my nose because that's where I get the most oil. And then I just take it and apply it to the rest of my face. And this will help with any splotchiness that you may notice with liquid foundation throughout the day. Sometimes it goes a bit splotchy on me. It's usually if you don't let your moisturizer or your primer sink in for long enough before applying your liquid on top of it. But powder also helps with that splotchiness that can occur throughout the day with a liquid foundation. And I'm going to take a fluffy eyeshadow brush to reach the area underneath my eye, and I'm going to use the Nars powder to set the foundation and concealer that I've applied under my eye. Just showing you the density that I use, but I'm going to just dip this brush into my foundation and set under my eye. And I find that this powder works really well under the eye. It's finely milled and it does not cake up on me at all. So I'm just going to set that. This will help my concealer stay on throughout the day. And it's pretty simple. That's pretty much it. I'm going to start with blotting my face. I take a blotting sheet and I get my nose first. Then I flip it over and get the excess oil from the rest of my face. And this will prep my skin for my powder foundation for my touch-up. So here the method that I use to touch up is to use my sponge in quadrants. So I look at it as two sides on the front, two sides on the back of the sponge. So the first quadrant will take care of my forehead. Then the second quadrant will take care of one of the sides of my face. I'm starting with my right. And I'm just going to lightly work the powder onto my face just to it reblends the liquid foundation and just makes it look fresh. Then I'm going to do the other side of my face with the third quadrant, and with the fourth quadrant I am going to get my chin and my nose. And this stops me from dipping any part of the sponge back onto my powder, just as a little bacteria control. I think it's a little more hygienic. And you can put your used sponge into the separate compartment of your compact, but don't forget to wipe it down with some alcohol before putting a fresh sponge back in. If you really want to look perfect, take your Smashbox Photo Finish primer in the 1 ounce, or if you're on the go, take your travel size and squeeze a little bit out to apply underneath your eye. And I use about that much, and I'm going to split that and apply a little bit to each of my under eye areas, my left and right, my right. And then I'm going to let that set for just about a minute before applying my Nars concealer on top of that. So sometimes your concealer will kind of fade off throughout the day as the day wears on. And you can just touch up. by putting your NARS concealer over the primer, and this will just help it glide on a little better, and it won't cake up on you and look funny. This just helps it glide on while still giving you that great coverage that you want to cover up your under eye circles if you have any. And then I just blend that with my Sephora concealer brush. I know it looks weird right now, but this concealer offers great coverage. So this is just a way to touch this up over the powder foundation. Since powders are dry, applying primer really helps. So I'm going to add some NARS powder foundation under my eye for increased longevity of my under eye concealer. And I think that touching up with NARS powder foundation is a great idea, not only because it makes you look better immediately, but it also gives you some sun protection. NARS powder foundation has SPF 12 and PA++, which is great UVA and UVB protection. And this is going to help with any possible signs of aging. This is great before a long commute home like I have, where you're sitting in the car, you're getting sun exposure. This will protect you. This is a neat little trick for all my ladies out there who are afraid of applying too much blush. I'm going to take my NARS Amore blush, which is upside down, and I'm going to apply some to each cheek. And you know when you're applying blush and you're like, oh, that's cute, but I don't know, can I use a little bit more? Yeah, I think I could use a little bit more. So you put a little more on, or at least you intend to, and you look in the mirror and you're like, oh crap, that is way too much blush. Well, what's cool about this brush is I just applied it with my blush, but it's kind of flat, so I can just turn it over and use the other side to get some NARS powder foundation, and this will help even out my blush on both sides of my face, and just take some of that intense color away. So I'm going to just apply it to one side right now, and since it's my skin tone, it'll just lighten up that blush. See this side, before, after, and it looks so much better on the right side of my face. I really don't need too much blush because I don't know, my cheeks are kind of prominent as it is, and applying too much blush is pretty much my worst nightmare. So, oh, what a relief. I look so much better now. And my whole face is not ruined. So, good job. This tutorial would not be complete without applying the NARS powder foundation on its own. So although it goes beautifully with the new NARS tinted moisturizer, ooh la la, I'm not going to use that. I'm going to apply this with some regular old Oil of Olay moisturizer that's not tinted at all, so that you can see the amount of coverage that the NARS powder foundation has just on its own, on my face, with no concealer, no tinted moisturizer. So I'm just going to apply my moisturizer all over my face, work that in, and let that set. So like I was saying earlier, it's always a good idea to let your moisturizer sit for at least 5 minutes before applying your primer, and then you let that sit for about a minute before applying your foundation, and that will reduce the risk of your foundation not staying on well or not looking as good and starting to go a bit splotchy on you throughout the day. So while I wait, I'm going to apply my lip color. Normally I would do this last, but since I'm waiting anyway, I decided to do it now and liven up my face a bit for this video. So I'm applying a fuchsia lip, which I'm really into right now. So sorry if you guys get tired of it. Kind of have the feeling I'll be rocking that fuchsia lip fairly often, but I'm getting up close and personal with you guys so you can see what my skin looks like with just moisturizer on it, no coverage. And I'm going to take my NARS powder foundation and I'll be applying this to my entire face as my foundation, as it's meant to be used. And I'm just going to use the sponge that comes with the compact, and this is the way that you can get the best coverage out of this product. So I'm just going to apply to my whole face, and here I'm not going to worry about redipping my sponge. When I touched up, earlier, I tried not to ever put the same part of the sponge back into the product for hygiene purposes. But to get your whole face covered, you're going to have to, dip and dip your sponge, especially after you hit pan and you're not getting a lot of product with each swipe. But I don't really mind that because my face is freshly washed here. So I will, dip the sponge back into the product over and over. And I have had this powder foundation since October, and now it's late February. So it's going on 6 months, and I'm actually using the same exact sponge that came with the product. I bought a spare sponge because I thought I would need it, but I never even ended up using it because this sponge held up so well between washes. So right now, for this much of my face, I've used about half the sponge. And I'm going to get under my eyes, just around my face. And I noticed zero breakouts with this product. And I thought that the sponge would cause me to break out. I just thought that sponges were, not hygienic. But I always apply it with a dry sponge. And after each use, I will just wash the sponge out with some, clear soft soap. And I just use the sponge over and over again, and it hasn't broken up on me. It doesn't make me break out. Totally happy with it. And I thought in the beginning, I tried to apply the foundation with a brush, but you really need to use the sponge that comes with it for the best coverage. A brush is just not going to do it. This is not a loose powder. It's pressed. So it just works best with the sponge that comes along with the product. And I think it did a pretty good job with giving me coverage. And it might look a little bit light for my skin tone right now, but I just noticed that after a few minutes, I guess it'll kind of oxidize. I shy away from using the word oxidize because I feel like it's kind of gotten a negative connotation for like just turning into some really unnatural color on you. And that's not what I mean here. It just will settle in a few minutes into my skin tone, and then it won't continue to darken or turn orange or anything like that throughout the day. Not this foundation, and not on me at least. And I think this did really well at covering up my dark spots and my imperfections. And I can just pack more on where needed. And you have to try incredibly hard. You have to put on a lot of foundation to make this stuff go cakey on you. At least that's my experience. Right here, I have this little blemish that I've noticed probably a couple of weeks ago. And I think it did pretty well at covering it up. It did better than I expected it to. I mean, the coverage, I'm really satisfied with the coverage from this powder foundation. I think it's totally impressive, and I like how it feels on my skin, and I'm just really happy with it. And I'm going to take my Maybelline Define-A-Brow and fill in my eyebrows right now. And I'm going to speed this up because it actually took me a while to do my eyebrows this time. And if it's taking you abnormally long to fill in your eyebrows, it's probably because they need to be reshaped. So I totally ignored the fact that it was that time for me. And then I paid for it by it taking so long as I tried to figure out how I wanted them. So don't be like me and just, if they need reshaping, reshape them before filling them in. But that's the reason it took so long. But I'm just going to carefully fill in my eyebrows. And then, just like before, I'm going to do my under eye concealer by starting with my Smashbox Photo Finish Primer. And then I just apply my Nars concealer and caramel on top of that for my under eye concealer. And caramel is a great match for Tahoe across the Nars foundations. Nars Sheer Glow, Nars Sheer Matte, Nars Powder Foundation, and Tahoe are all slightly different shades, although they have the same name. But caramel works great under the eye with any of those. And again, I am using the Nars Powder Foundation to set my under eye concealer. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to scoot back down in my chair and you guys can see what the coverage looks like. So I'll conclude by adding a touch of blush to my cheeks. And again, this is Nars Amour. And here's what my face looks like with Nars Powder Foundation applied. I hope you like it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. And until next time, bye!